It seems like there's always a corollary between what we're doing in the body and what we do in the mind. So I've mentioned this a bunch of times, but when I was younger, I would sometimes wake up with pain in my temples because I was biting down so hard in my sleep. Or I would wake up with little half moons in my palms because my fingernails were digging into the flesh of my palms during my sleep. So I could literally see some of the half moons in the flesh of my palm. That was a form of clenching and squeezing and bracing that was happening in my sleep. In my sleep. I would wake up feeling the tension in my temples from that. And in my younger years, I struggled with TMJ, probably because of that. If someone had said, well, Bridge, you just start relaxing your body wherever you notice you're holding tension, just drop your shoulders, just wiggle your toes, just relax the muscles in your face whenever you notice. And just keep doing that throughout the day, and you'll feel a lot better. I would have thought that sounded way too easy. And also, I think I would have rejected the idea that I could do something like that. I would have rejected how long it would take, I think. Because at that time, everything had to be super fast. All the results had to be done yesterday, etc. But now it's many years later, and I have normalized slowing down to the point where I know it's okay if something takes 7 years. Because when I get there, I'm there. Like I'm really there. So if I can get out of the hamster wheel and off of the roller coaster and out of the revolving door scenarios, where you're doing something and then you're back doing it again and you're doing all these quick fix solutions, and it's been really nice to ease out of that kind of rhythm into a place where, well, maybe this took 30 months, but now I'm actually in a new place. That's nice. So I'm willing to let it take 30 months. I'm willing to let this thing take 5 years or whatever to get to where I need to be. I think the part I wanted to highlight today is, what is that journey like? How can the journey be less painful, or truth is it's bloody at times just to be a person in the world as it is, with the conditions of the world being as wild and awful and crazy as they often are. It can be pretty gory to be a person in this world at this point. And yet, there are still those moments of ease that sneak up on us, moments of pleasure, moments of unexpected joy, opportunity, etc. Those are just as real. And life is just a kind of confluence of all of that. So the drop your shoulders invitation, it never gets old because you're dropping your shoulders into all of it. I'll wrap this up by saying that it seems like the clenching and the squeezing and the bracing that I was doing in the body, while that's happening a lot less these days because of my daily embodiment work, what's next up for noticing and evolving is the way that I do the same thing in my mind. So if I have a problem or a need or a difficulty, something I want to get rid of, something I don't want to deal with or don't want to experience, I'm now training myself to relax into those things. And the weird thing is that I can't speak on this definitively because words are inadequate. But what happens, I feel like what's happening is as I relax around the mental judgments of what's happening and what needs to change and how difficult things are and blah, 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 all the stories around what's not working in my life, as I relax around that, as I drop my shoulders around that, as I relax my body into those things, into those moments. So what that means is I'll have the thought, oh, blah, 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 I don't have enough this, I don't have enough that. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? I will physically relax my body in the moment of experiencing the chatter. Physically relax my body into that. And I'll notice the corollary in the body, the sensations that accompany the corollaries or the somatic corollaries to the chatter. So I'll notice what I feel in my body when these thoughts arise. Very similar to my work on cravings. You know, when I have a craving, I notice what it feels like sensationally to be having the craving. The thought will be, I need chips, or, I need sugar. Whatever the thought is, that's happening. But then there's, beneath all of that, there's a series of sensations in the body. And when I can find the wherewithal to drop into that, I immediately shift my experience because now I've created distance between the automatic behavioral response and the feeling that I'm having. I've created distance. So instead of this thing taking over my brain and behavior so immediately and instantly and completely, I'm creating distance now where I can talk to myself and go, oh, you're feeling this, you're feeling that. How interesting. This is what you're sensing. And it's happening because you're in the midst of a craving. How interesting. And then I can kind of get a hold of myself. So it's not like, it's like, And then I can start to uncouple and reconnect the wires like I talked about before. And I can start to see that the answer is not getting the thing. The answer, what's going to fix this? Well, there are other ways to fix this. And there are other ways to approach this moment of craving. So when I think about a problem, what I'm beginning to do is to relax into the problem. And this is how I've begun to notice more and more slip knots. Because sometimes you can eliminate a problem by changing your posture. You can eliminate a problem by changing the way you're looking at it. It's crazy. My favorite example these days, I'm going through an experimental process with my hair. Black hair, and what I mean by that is not the color black, but Afro-textured hair carries with it a kind of technology. And maybe I'll talk more about this another time, but I'll just say a little bit now. Wow. Where do I even begin? Okay, let me not get into that because that could take a while. And maybe I'll think more about that and come back and talk about that another time. But I've been in an experimental developmental process with my hair, wanting my hair to just be. And so here's my favorite example of this embodiment practice that I'm doing right now. I've changed my center of gravity so that whiteness, and I mean that from a racial kind of identity standpoint, whiteness is not my center of gravity. So when I was growing up, there was a lot of, a lot of chatter about black hair. And it's not just when I was growing up, it's for Black people who live in white spaces. We are, especially women, because there's so much heaviness around femininity and blackness versus whiteness and all of that. And if your center of gravity is whiteness and you're a Black woman with Afro-textured hair, you're going to wake up into every day with a lot of problems and a lot of work to do just to get to zero before you can even start your day and start to do other things with your time and energy and attention and money. So if your center of gravity is whiteness, the proximity to whiteness becomes a priority for you. And it becomes a place where you invest time, money, and energy. Now, when I was growing up, I went to grade school with what we would call Black and brown kids, children of African descent, African American kids, maybe some Caribbean American kids, less of those, and kids whose parents were from South America, Central America. That's the kind of community I grew up in. But when I was in the 7th grade, I went to private school, and now all of a sudden all the kids were white. Anyway, some of the kids used to come to school in the morning with wet hair. The white girls, they would come to school with wet hair because they had showered and washed their hair in the shower and gotten on the school bus, and their hair had not dried yet. And this was remarkable to me, absolutely remarkable to me. Now, this is the early 80s. I'm 13. And I'm looking at this, and I don't have a story about it, but I'm seeing it. And now it's 43 years later. And what I was seeing was freedom to exist. That's what I was seeing. I took a shower, I washed my hair, and I went to school. Maybe ran a comb through it, maybe not. And I went to school. I had the freedom to do that as a white girl because my appearance was normalized, societally, collectively normalized. Now, as a black girl, there wasn't that opportunity because my hair was framed as problematic, and it had to be heavily manipulated to approximate whiteness or a white aesthetic, whether it had to do with the texture of the hair or the way my hair, the direction of my hair, because my hair goes out into a fluffy orb of afro-ness. It does not hang naturally. My hair does not hang naturally. So wanting my hair to hang was also, I didn't even think about this before in an explicit way before I started watching content from these wonderful young millennial and Gen Z thinkers who were talking about texturism and colorism and all the different isms that have to do with the aesthetics of being a woman, a black woman. I was like, wow, that's interesting. And I really had to sit with it for months before I was able to kind of embody a desire to play with it in my own experience. It was like, oh, wow. What would it be like to center Bridgetness and blackness and afro-ness and nappiness and afford myself that freedom that the white girls had when I was in the 7th grade? What would that be like? So I'm playing with that. And in doing that, I'm seeing, oh, by changing my posture and my center of gravity and my base level assumptions, I've immediately eliminated a whole slew of costs, problems, and burdens. And how might that be so in other areas of life? How might that be so in other areas of life? Are there other ways and other places in which I can change my center of gravity and eliminate a whole basket of problems? Or said differently, can I change my posture or center of gravity or way of looking at things and free myself up free myself up to invest my time, energy, and money differently. Because I no longer have to invest time, energy, and money into supporting this other center of gravity that may not be serving me very well. I'll be honest, it's really exciting to pursue this particular inquiry. Because it's like, oh, what's possible? What becomes possible? Quietly, easily, accessibly. What becomes possible when I change my center of gravity in this way and that way and this way and that way? What becomes possible? So this does go back to that video I made about posture. And the seed for this was planted many years ago. And it's very exciting to see the first little green buds metaphorically pushing up through the soil. Like, oh, something's happening here. Okay. All right. And how can I bring this to my life to improve the quality of life that I'm living? And I wonder what this brings up for you. I wonder what this awakens for you. I wonder what this means to you. I wonder how you can apply this in your life. Is there a way that you are operating from a certain center of gravity that is understandable, that maybe you inherited, that maybe you just became accustomed to, that may not be serving you anymore? And can you experiment with changing that center of gravity to afford yourself more freedom? Something to think about. I think I'll stop there for now. Interesting. Check the notes under this video for all of my tings. And yeah, we'll keep talking. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.